Coach, it's finally a game week for the MLS season. How does it look out there 5 days away?
The sun's peeking out, so that's good news. Although I do like Lumen when it's windy, cold, rainy, wet. Helps. Team seems to be in a good mood. The messaging has been, it's been a bit of a long preseason, interrupted with the shortened trip to Morocco. We would like to stay there longer, but it's here. Crunch time, money time, season. It's here. So that's what we're focusing on, and just making sure we fine-tune everything.
Really quickly checking on injury statuses to both Raul and to Obed Vargas.
Yeah, Raul's day-to-day. He's off to the side just because he needs to make sure he completes some fitness testing. We'll know later in the week what his true status is. But Obed will not be involved this week. We'll just rule him out right away, but he'll be, back in full training. There'll be a little cautious with him. We got U20s coming up. We want to protect him a little bit. It's shooting quads a little different, so we're going to be a little careful with the kid.
For Bear, in the time he's been here so far, a little bit of a different player than a Will Bruin. So when you have him up there as opposed to Raul, how do things change with the kind of that second unit?
Yeah, look, Will was a really useful player for us. Did a good job. I'm happy that he signed in Austin. Bear is different. He's smoother. He's not all arms and elbows and headers and fight and all that. He's more subtle. Reminds me a little bit of Montero. That's why he and Freddie are good friends off the field. They're class forwards. They score goals. So both of those two guys, in case Raul can't make it back, happy to have those guys on the squad.
Coach, just staying on the injury component, we saw Albert come off a little bit sooner.
Yeah, he rolled his ankle a little bit, but we'll assess that. I'm not too worried about it. He wanted to keep training, but I, as a coach, said no. The most important game is Sunday, so we'll get him back out there. We'll assess.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, finish on.
Staying on the midfield subject, Danny Leyva, he seemed to cover a lot of ground in the two Louisville games. Just kind of wanted to get your take on how he did, how he played.
Yeah. Look, there is competition, and that's something that the club has to, in a global view, has to figure that out, because Danny's super talented. He's got a chance to go with the 20s. Josh is super talented. Obed's super talented. JP's coming back. Albert's there. Play Christian in there if I wanted to. I mean, it's you got young Sota. I mean, it's a conundrum. And Danny, what he's done is he's raised the level of training and games because he's pushing. Makes Josh better, makes Obed better, makes everybody better. So that's, in some small way, a little bit of leadership by a young kid, which, Danny's a smart kid. He gets it.
Not so much how, but when, with such great competition, game on Sunday, when do you start kind of figuring out that lineup? When is it comfortable for you to?
Well, look, Moss, our last tune-up game was pretty much it. I mean, there's a couple of questions, but it's we've been training a different style, a little bit different system. Everybody kind of knows it, provided there's no knocks, injuries, and then the last thing will just be, in-game rotations. I mean, a lot of games this year, and that's what we're going to start talking about now. Is the first couple of weeks, it's pretty good. First 3 or 4 weeks, and then we got a pile of games coming up, and we will be missing Obed and Danny. Hopefully, they make the World Cup squad, the U20s. So there'll be some playing time going on.
There's a sequence there. I don't know if you smiled when you were watching, where two back-to-back when they went down the lane and then he passed it dead who scored, and then the next time he had the ball and he shot. It's just, what are you seeing from him? He looks a little spry.
Well, I mean, look, I always love it when your senior players get in the groove, your goal scorers get in the groove. That's always handy. The one thing I would add to our little discussion here is we had a 14-year-old kid out here, Jordy, academy kid, because we needed some that kid was pretty smooth in front of goal. I like seeing that.
Stay with the young talent. Aquino just had a
Chris,
brace with the U.S. national team. Just want to get your take on it.
Well, he's been in enough of our training sessions that I know that he's a quality kid. So how he continues to develop and how we get him assimilated with more of defiance in the first team. Man, we've got some good kids coming up.
You mentioned the amount of games a couple minutes ago. The MLS schedule now with Apple has most games, excluding this one, is Sunday on Saturdays and Wednesdays, and it's pretty consistent. How does that help you as a coaching staff to have a very consistent schedule like that?
It helps the fitness guys more because they can really do some periodization as to which weeks are up weeks, which ones are down weeks. You got their 6-week cycles. You know, it helps them a lot. So let's see if that translates into we have a fresher team at the end of the year. That was part of the problem last year. We put a lot of energy in a Champions League and then kind of fizzled at the end. So with a consistent schedule, now there is the new version of Leagues Cup in the middle of the year and fixture congestion. So let's see how that goes. But this beginning part of the season should help the fitness guys.
And it became official this morning that the first round of the playoffs will be a 3-game series. Thoughts on that change?
Yeah, I have to read it over again. I was on a coaches committee meeting and we discussed it, and I thought there might be some tweaks, and I guess it is what it is, and it's coming out. And I got to read the report just so I can speak cleanly about it. But I mean, look, yeah, more teams are in it. Apple TV wants some more playoff games. I think they're trying to do the best they could, but let me digest it first, and I'll give you guys a more educated opinion.
But just as someone who's lived with soccer his whole life, is it a little odd, the timing?
Look, if you're asking me the question, I like one and done. I am a one and done type of guy. I think the feeling amongst the coaches, we'd prefer that. But look, this is a big deal. Apple's a big sponsor, so we get it.
Want to get your take on Colorado, what they presented in midfield, and what are you hoping to get from them?
You got a new kid in midfield. You got Price. Wilson, Abukar, I've always liked him. Tough defender. Bassett. I mean, it's a good squad. It's a good squad. I mean, Barrios and Nubu. That's worth the price of a ticket. Watching those two guys go at each other. So it's a good team, and I really appreciate the job that Robin does. I think he's a really good coach. Gets his team organized.
Sorry, Brian. How are you feeling about your defense, your back line?
Good. I mean, I didn't like the goal we gave up against Louisville, but that was more for it was a training game, and I was pushing them to try and play out of the back, and we got stuck because Steph was playing out of the back. That's how Louisville scored. So offensively, we're okay. We'll still see. There's still competition in that back line, and we'll see how it goes.
Without giving too much, you talked about adjustments offensively. Has there been any adjustment to set pieces particularly, and maybe being more effective in those?
Well, we actually have done a little bit more messaging. We'll work on the film. We obviously scored that goal against Louisville, but there are some common themes that we're going to go over, and we'll have little, different variations. But yeah, it'll be a renewed emphasis this year for sure.
Did it feel like a longer off season with no postseason play?
Yeah,
and
we didn't make the playoffs, so it's for sure longer.
And
We didn't like it.
I was going to say, this being the first step of kind of getting back to where you guys want to be.
I think the guys are anxious. They're anxious to play. I mean, I got good feedback from the Louisville game.